Hi everybody, I'm Dr. Papoka Brown here talking to you a little bit about this week's discussion, the 5-2 discussion proper sampling. And in case you haven't figured this out about me yet, I hope so since we're halfway through the course, I really like to focus on the positive, and I understand that we are all new to this course. However, another big part of my job is not only to encourage you and to help you, but to also make sure that you learn and to make sure that we're doing the best job that we can do. So even though I'm going to say a few things in this video that some people might possibly construe as being negative, it really is with a good purpose to help move us all in the right direction. There were some mistakes on last week's discussion post that I really want to make sure that we don't repeat this week. So again, mistakes are a natural part of the learning process, and I believe that those are great opportunities for learning. And that's all I want to do is use our mistakes from last week to help us make sure that we don't make them again this week. So with that in mind, I am going to turn your attention to the discussion rubric for a moment. It's the exact same rubric, SNHU discussion rubric undergrad. I grade every discussion post with the same rubric. So week 4, last week's discussion was graded with the same rubric. And there were a couple of places that we really had a hard time. First of all, there were a lot of people who missed points for the writing mechanics because of the citation method part. Remember that you need to cite, if you put the name of your article in there, you cite your article, you need to have a proper citation. There were several people that missed, not a lot of points, but a couple of points for that part. So that's an easy fix. Just make sure you put your citation in there. Person after person after person forgot. The one I really want to spend some time talking about, though, in this video is the engagement portion. Specifically, that refers to the replies that you made to your peers. And to be honest, this was not our strongest category at all this past week. So let me bring up the part of the prompt from last week that referred to the response. And recall that you were given some pretty specific directions for how to respond to your peers' post. You were even, you were given some very specific questions. To what extent do you think the visual representation is misleading or too open to interpretation? How would you better represent the data? And you were given even a section of the textbook that you could use as a resource. So I'm going to show you, I took kind of a sampling of some responses that weren't our best work and, change the wording around a little bit just to kind of give you an idea of what I'm referring to. And here it is right here. I agree with you. So again, this is like me taking some posts and kind of changing around the wording, but it gives you the basic gist of the ones that weren't necessarily our best work. I agree with you that a bar graph would work well here. I think a line graph would help see the relationship more clearly. Okay, so there's several issues with this post. First of all, great. I agree with you that a bar graph would work well here. I don't see any because, no reasoning to support that opinion. Okay, for all I know, you didn't necessarily even read the post. Okay, so you've got to make sure that you explain your reasoning with some detail. Why do you agree? Like, you should always be thinking, why, right? And again, I think a line graph would help see the relationship more clearly. Again, I don't see any kind of explanation for why. So in these reply posts, we're looking for something substantial, something that really contributes to the post. Just saying, oh, I agree. That doesn't really help. You're not giving any reason why you agree, first of all. The second issue with this particular post is that it really doesn't do a lot to address the prompt. Personally, I don't see anything really that, what extent do you think the visual representation of the data is misleading or open to interpretation? I don't really see anything about that. Maybe you did read section 3.9 of the book, but there is absolutely no evidence in this post that has any kind of information from 3.9 in it. So kind of looks like, not saying you didn't read it if you made this post, but doesn't really look like you did. There's definitely no evidence. Yeah, how would you better represent the data for clearly, more clearly? I mean, that's kind of in here. I think a line graph would help see the relationship more clearly. But again, not any explanation for why. So here is what the rubric looked like again. And I was very, very lenient this week. So in my personal opinion, what really should have been a grade for this one was provides a somewhat relevant. Okay, so yeah, it was kind of relevant, but not really, somewhat. As you can see, 55%. That is just barely half of the points for this category. If I'd really been following what kind of my heart was telling me for a lot of your posts this week, this is where you would have been. A lot of you, however, if there was something in there that I could find that related, most of you, I gave you a score in this category this week. But because I believe in making mistakes and learning from them, I wanted to give you some feedback first. All of you guys, if you fell into that category, did get feedback in that part of the rubric where I talked to you about what I would like to see next time. So please make sure that you're actually reading that feedback and seeing whether or not you fell into that category, because I'm going to grade a lot more strictly this week now that I have brought to your attention that this was an issue. So you see, that's a lot of points, right? Somewhat, 85, like you got 85% of your points when frankly, a lot of you really should have only gotten a little over half. So please make sure that you are, really paying attention to what the prompt is asking you to do. I need to see some words like actually look at the 3.9 in the textbook and, what are some examples of good graphs that they point out in that part of the book. And I'm going to show you, not just the negative, but here's an example of a really great post that I saw from somebody. First of all, the first thing I want you to notice if you're just looking at length, it's not like this is really that long, right? I'm not asking you to write a novel. I'm not asking you to write a book. I just want you to answer the question. I want you to do it effectively. And this person, this is a couple of different people. I took samples from their really great responses and turned it into one, changed the wording a little bit. In your article, the two line graphs have different intervals along the x-axis. Okay, spot on. You gave a very specific example. I've not yet read your whole article, but that typically means someone is trying to be deceptive. Okay, the fact that you brought up that the two line graphs have different intervals on the y-axis, and that usually means somebody is trying to be deceptive, that tells me, hey, you read the chapter. You actually have something to contribute. You gave me something specific to work with. There is a specific characteristic of those graphs that indicates that maybe it's trying to be deceptive. Doesn't necessarily mean it is. And actually, this particular article that's being talked about, it was a really difficult one. It's the one about emotional intelligence. It was really hard. The fact that the that the graphs had different y-axes, there's actually a reason for that, but it doesn't matter in my opinion. The fact that the person knew, they read the chapter, they knew that typically having different intervals, that usually means that something is wrong. That person has learned something. That person is contributing to this conversation in an effective manner. And then they gave a specific example. I would adjust the scales on the graphs to be the same so someone could more accurately compare the data sets. So once again, they came up with something very specific. So this is an example of a post. Again, it's not that long, right? But it is very relevant. So this is a person who definitely, got in that exemplary category. It was relevant, it was meaningful, and they very clearly explained with a concrete detail what was misleading about it and how they might fix it. So please make sure that you are definitely paying attention to what the prompt is asking you to do and that you're being very specific. And again, I know this is hard. If you read the post and you're not sure what the answer to that question is, this particular topic this week over sampling is a difficult topic for many people, okay, because this is new to you. I'm providing for you, attached to this post as well, a couple of a really good article from Khan Academy that kind of goes into detail about sampling, and then of course chapter 2 from the text was already mentioned in the prompt. Right here in the prompt, okay, it says specifically, consider what you've read in chapter 2. So go back and look at chapter 2, guys, please, and cite something from that text so that I can make sure that I give you all of the points for your response being relevant. And if you've read chapter 2 and you look at the extra link to Khan Academy article that I've given you, and you're still not quite sure, then message me, add it to the discussion board. Those of you that have asked questions, I'm sure that you've seen now, I respond very, very quickly, and I will do so because I want you to do a good job, but of course I'm here to support you to help you to do that good job. As usual, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Hope this video helps. If you need more clarification, you know where to find me. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.